So we've got the tools, now we've got the techniques. How do you actually do some of this outreach? And again, this is one of these things that I think people oftentimes sort of get nervous about doing outreach in this one. So I want to tell you a very interesting story about a young woman named Ariana. And so she happened to get connected on LinkedIn through a very appropriately worded message to one of the Winklevoss twins. You guys know who the Winklevoss twins are? They're like, the Facebook guys, the Bitcoin billionaires and stuff like that. Well, here's what she did. So she happens to be a twin, and she happens to do crew. And the Winklevoss twins happen to be twins and do crew. And so she reached out with sort of those affinities, like, hey, I'm a twin, I also row, we should connect. So she connected with the Winklevoss twins on LinkedIn, or with one of the Winklevoss twins on LinkedIn, and he said, I would be happy to want to do an interview with you at some point. Now, she took that and she said, awesome, now what do I do? And I said, well, you schedule an interview. And she's like, well, but what do I do? And I was like, well, this is where the magic of persistence comes in. Now, it took her at least 8 or 9 reminders to get him to finally say yes. He had to connect with her. Then she had to connect with him on email. Then she had to get his assistant. And eventually she did it. And she got really nervous, saying like, I'm nervous because I'm going to be bothering him. Now, the important thing to understand is that you're not bothering someone, but you're being sort of persistent in that way. And so one of the tactics to understand is when you start to do cold outreach is that you have to be persistent, number one. But the way you can be persistent is you have to track who you're reaching out to. And that's an important thing to understand, is when you're doing outreach to people, you have to have a list of the people you're reaching out to and follow up, follow up, follow up. That's going to be an important thing. The average person takes about 8 sort of touches before they'll buy a product from you if you're selling it to them. So it's going to take a lot of reminders. In the same way as you're doing interviewing, you're going to have to sort of be persistent to get people to say yes. So that's the important thing about that one. So again, I think as you're doing outreach, what I did is I posted some sort of tactics and techniques, kind of some language for you in the chat room today when you start to do outreach. But use those things. Remember, when you're reaching out to people, reference the affinities that you have, reference the fact that what you admire in them, and reference that you're not going to use that much time, but kind of try these techniques that'll help out now.